Hey there, kids. It's me, Oni the Unicorn. And I'm here to tell you that f***ing your dreams ain't cheap. In fact, it costs a ton of cash to do. So that's why me and the Oh No Radio Show need your help. Just go to the website displayed below and hit us up with some cash, yo. $1, $5, $1 million if you have it to spare. Any amount is appreciated. Well, I gotta go because these dreams ain't gonna fuck themselves. See ya!
Oh my God, what's gonna happen? Oh my God! We have a new champion!
Uh-oh. Stand by. I clearly have a cable that's going bad. 1 second.
Oh my God, what's gonna happen? Oh my God! We have a new champion!
And yes, welcome back to another week of Oh No Wrestling Podcast. My name is Owen. I am your Sharp Break Kid. Along with me tonight, it's just my good buddy Matthew, the modern day Maharaja. And that's just fine because we're gonna sit down. We're gonna talk some wrestling. It's been a real slow week once again. Real slow start to the year. You know, nothing happening in the world of professional wrestling.
Nope. Nothing at all.
Most certainly nothing like last year. Definitely off to a slow start. I think everything's gonna really chill out this year. We're gonna get everything calmed down. You know, there's gonna be just like consistency and quality of product across the board. That's my prediction.
Yeah, it seems like the companies are all settled.
Oh, yeah.
You know, everything's business as usual.
Back,
Seems like.
yeah, back to just solid, you know, Monday Night Raws, Friday Night SmackDowns, all that. We'll be talking about, of course, the elephants in the room later on in the show. But since it's been just a little bit and we were doing on last week's show just prior to this event, I figured we'd talk and open up with some thoughts about what we saw of Wrestle Kingdom 17 and the match that is being claimed by Dave Meltzer to be, what is it? He gave it a 6.25 star rating.
Yeah.
We've both seen the match by this point.
Yep.
And I was very highly entertained by the match. But I'm going to say something controversial here. Two of my favorite wrestlers in the world. That shit was not 6.25 stars to me.
I mean, here's what gets me. Like, his rating scale and everything, I just don't even know what 6.2... Like, it was a really fucking good
fucking
match.
Great match.
But again, I don't know. That's like, can you get more than 100% on a test?
Yeah, I don't... I mean,
Or
I guess you
of
get
anything?
A+++, right? Like, that used to happen occasionally in high school,
But if you have like
I
a
guess,
cap at 100%,
Right. Just call it a 5-star match, I guess.
just call it a 5-star, and then if you want to rate your 5-star matches that you've given 5 stars and put it in a top 10 or 5 or 3 or whatever, I'm okay with that. I just think it becomes a little egregious when you can just, because what does 6.25 mean? Is there something higher? Because if there's something higher than 6.25, then I don't know what 6 point, like, what is that in relation to? Is it in relation to 10? Is it in relation to 6.5?
They should just, I mean, would it be too late at this point for Meltzer to just make it a 10-star rating, right? Like, we've already...
He would have to, like, create a conversion factor, right?
Yeah. I mean, and a match that got maybe, 4 stars back in the 80s or 5 stars back in the 80s isn't going to have the same... Even today, you look at that match, and it wouldn't have the same rating to begin with. Because styles are different. There's just athleticism that is like incredible, just it's better now, right? They're better athletes. They're better pro wrestlers. So even that makes it hard to kind of figure out where something lies. Like Steamboat Flair, I think is one of those like early matches that I think was one of the, like, I don't know if it got 5, but it got very close to a 5-star rating. It's one of his higher rated matches from like, years and years and years ago. But does that match translate today into a 5-star match? I don't know. That's a hard thing to really, put it into perspective. The match was great. I think it delivered on everything I wanted it to, but I would just have called it a 5-star match. Like I
called it a 5-star match too. It was I don't want to take anything away from it. Like the storytelling was great when they took their time after, having a couple of sequences. It worked really well. The whole thing flowed great. Ospreay looked amazing. Kenny looked fucking great. They both really pulled out all the stops, and you kind of got everything you wanted out of both of them, right? And you didn't get a lot of fluff or a lot of, I guess, botches or anything like that. You got a fucking straight up wrestling match with two of the best wrestlers in the world, and they both showed up and did what they were supposed to do and worked extremely well together
and told a hell of a story in the process. So I thought it was interesting. Of course, for some reason going into it, and I guess I'm dumb for not really realizing this, especially with the press conference that we alluded to and played a little bit of on last week's show, but I didn't really get that Ospreay was going to be the face in this match and Omega was going to be the heel. And Omega clearly worked heel in that match. And I guess it's just because I'm so used to seeing Ospreay as this arrogant prick that I never really would have thought in this context it would have been this way around, especially with Kenny coming back to Japan. Like, just naturally, it's like, oh, well, Kenny's so beloved, he'll be the face. But that also added so much to the story that they were telling about the passing of the torch and how Kenny's not ready to do that yet. And, and
I think part of that storytelling, at least like for me when I watched it, was having been aware of and watched and listened to that press conference and, what happened, Kenny not having said anything, but how worked up Ospreay was, right, during that. But then when he came out, did the entrance, and when he came down, he stood at the bottom of the entrance ramp, right at the ring, kind of stared up, and then he looked one way, and then he looked the other. He wasn't cocky, yelling, like running his mouth or anything. It was, I'm showing up to do work. Like, I got that out of my system. I'm here to wrestle. And I think that really helped with that story, right? He got all of that in his face, and he's like, no, I'm here to wrestle.
I think you're 100% right. And I think it adds to the story for the future because we're clearly not done. Like, this was only the beginning. It's terrifying in a lot of ways because it's like, how do you top it, right? Like, if they're going to have a best of 3 or they're going to do a series of 3 matches rather, or hey, maybe even do 5, maybe they do 7, who knows what they do.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's going to be harder and harder and harder to eclipse that. And I feel like now it needs to, we've discussed this back and forth. No matter what, the end result of all of this in my head needs to be an Ospreay win in Japan.
Yeah.
That to me seems like the likely thing. So Kenny might take the next one perhaps at like a Forbidden Door. I feel like that could be an interesting way to go. But then you've got Ospreay, 2-0 down with maybe like that one last chance, the one last shot, like to dethrone Kenny or something like that.
What if you did I mean, I know we talked about possibly a show in the UK, right?
Oh, would see,
'Cause-
yeah, that
'cause-
would be a
because
lovely
it,
way of a nice in between for sure. Yeah.
it would be a nice in between, and adding that kind of adds in a completely different. I don't know. It adds almost like a completely different, like a fourth element, right? Because originally I was thinking they would have Japan, then Forbidden Door, and then Japan again, right? And if that was the case, I could see Omega winning the first two,
Yeah, that's kind of what I
and
was just
then
thinking. Yeah.
but I could also see Ospreay winning at Forbidden Door to put him over more in the States, even though he's talked about in some interviews recently about how he's not sure he would always he thinks he might always be New Japan. He's just he seems a little bit introverted when it comes to that. He's like, US is kind of a big place. There's a a lot happening. I'm more comfortable over here, and maybe he says that's maybe to his detriment a little bit. It helps him. So, but it could help put him over here. But if you do a UK, it would make sense to put it on him there and then do one final showdown in Japan. Either way you go, unless you're doing more than 3 matches, which you don't need, like you just said. I mean, how do you?
Yeah. How do
that?
you keep topping it? I mean, perfect way, I guess, to do it would be at that they're talking about an AEW show, right? In the
Yeah.
UK, in the UK. So why not do it there? That's a perfect way to do it.
Is that already set?
I don't know that they have a date for that one yet. They've just said that they're coming, and I don't think there's a date or venue announced, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I feel like
that
it's
I'm seeing.
real close, like, because obviously WWE just announced Money in the Bank being in the UK, which is a huge deal for the Brits. I want
they're
to
going to do
say
London, but I'm not sure. They've announced a London, but they didn't announce when yet.
Yeah,
So you're right.
I want to say that a lot of people are guessing that those two shows might not be too far apart, and that like that's maybe like they're kind of waiting to figure out exactly, like maybe even WWE's waiting to figure out when they're running this one, and like I don't think they're going to counter.
I mean, I think
book it. but-
WWE already. I mean, they've already booked Money in the Bank. though,
Yeah. They have their date set. So now it's a
Yeah.
case of like, I guess when AEW goes over, but maybe they're looking at doing it. Like, I can't imagine they would obviously run on the same night, but if you could run that shit on the same weekend, there's going to be a lot of fans that
That are
would
there,
gonna
and
possibly
that came in for that, and you might as well. It's a big wrestling weekend or week
Yeah.
or whatever, 2 weeks or something like that.
I think that might be the smarter way to do it. Probably both are going to want to go on last to be the, the conversation
there-
piece going forward. So like,
But there could be
that's-
some burnout, wouldn't you think? Like,
Yeah,
think
that's
about
true.
this. Like, either way they do it. Let's just say WWE went first, right?
Mhm.
They would probably do a Raw. They would probably do a SmackDown,
Mm.
and then over there, and then they would have their premium live event. Then the following week, you would end up doing like an AEW, and then if AEW wanted to do some sort of, I mean, are they just going to do Dynamite and Rampage, or are they going to
That-
make it more of an event?
They
I
should
think
do
that's
it.
the question.
Yeah. I feel like they'll probably end up doing it in the same sort of grandeur as they do like an Arthur Ashe, where it's like pay-per-view quality but on TV. And so you get your Dynamite and Rampage both out of the same like building, both live, both 2 different ticketed events. I think that you can easily do that with
How
without
do those
without a
TV rights
pay-per-view.
work?
Well, because they're in the UK.
Yeah.
I don't think it's any different. I think
Okay.
ultimately it would be
Taped and then just premiere over here, and then they have whoever's broadcasting it over there would
get it live
get
type
the
thing.
rights. They would have the licensing right to be able to show it live over there on their
I don't
network.
know. I that's a really interesting question, because no matter what, it's not going to be live here, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So yeah, like that is an interesting question, whether or not TBS, TNT, Warner has issues with that. They're with ITV, I believe, in the UK, which big provider, big network. They're like you've got the BBC, and then like the next one is ITV. Is kind of the way it works. So I would imagine that ITV would be able to get the rights to air it live, and then we would just get it, I guess, on a delay, like later on. How does it work with? I'm trying to think. I don't think. See, that's the thing. I don't think when.
Like Clash of the Castle was at a different time.
Yeah, but when, like, say Raw or SmackDown goes in the UK,
they tape it, right?
Everyone gets it taped is kind of like the general thing.
Okay.
So like they would probably, or they would have it in. No, see, I think I'm wrong. I think sometimes what they have done in the past is they've done an early show. So in the UK, it would air the regular time on a delay, but for us, it would still be live. It would just be at like 3:00 in the afternoon, their time, and then would air live like 8:00 or whatever, 5 hours later for us live. That's one way of doing it. I don't know. That is an interesting question. I've never really thought about that.
I've never thought about it either.
I feel like because it's TV, they would have to do it that way around, and I'm sure they're more beholden to the TBS deal than they are the ITV deal. Like, I would imagine that would probably be the way round of which way it would go. Back to, though, the Wrestle Kingdom match, the Omega Ospreay match. It was really nice seeing Kenny, I guess, being so vicious. Like,
so vicious.
The intensity that was there, like the stiffness from both the guys, right? Like,
yeah.
But we haven't seen a ton of that really in AEW. Like, it was definitely a more return to form for Kenny and his more New Japan style, rather than what he's been doing in AEW. I hope, I don't know, here I'm in two minds of this, right? Because part of me wants to say I want that Kenny Omega in AEW. But they're two different products. There's two different presentations of what wrestling is, and it's also a nice treat when you get like, would it get oversaturated if he was that way all the time in the States? I think it would.
It would.
So I think it kind of works out for the betterment that you get it in glimpses. You get pieces of that. You don't always get that Kenny Omega. I want a little bit more of it, maybe like high stakes pay-per-view type stuff with AEW. I think that you need a little bit more of that with Kenny, but keeping it a little bit at arm's length, maybe not the worst idea.
Maybe not the worst idea, and let it come out every now and then. But also to that point, we haven't really been able to see a Kenny solo in AEW since the All Out thing, and since they came back, because they've been doing this, 7 matches with Death Triangle and the Elite, and so
he's injured for so long before that, took all that time off, with that injury, but even prior to that was working injured for so long. Like, even when he was champion, like, it sounds like he was, for most of his title reign, he was pretty much working, at 75 or less percent.
I think less. I mean, if you remember on the commentary on for Wrestle Kingdom, and they were talking to Don Callis, they said, he said something about, oh, well, even Kenny Omega at 80%. And then the other commentators were like, well, you just said he's at 80%. He's like, no, I said even Kenny Omega at 80%, and he was like, he was wrestling injured and all these things beforehand. But thinking about that leads me to believe what we were seeing at the end of Kenny when he was giving it all. And we could tell he was battered and bruised. Yeah. But I mean, Don said, and granted, it's commentary, right? But
and it is Don Callis as well.
He's as close to 100% as we've seen him in years. And he even said, he was like, we even dropped him 4 pounds before he came over here to look fucking shredded and, that sort of shit.
I love that too. I love when they get into actual sort of sporting talk on commentary and We were getting a ton of that with Regal in AEW. We were getting like insight into why you would do this move or do this counter or what, that type of stuff. I like when they add that through line, and it's sort of, it's what AEW was supposed to be in the beginning, right? This whole more sports oriented presentation, like so on and so forth. So yeah, I personally think it was a smart move to present him in the way they presented him. And it's hard sometimes to look at a character like Will Ospreay and have him be a sympathetic babyface. And they did it. And they did it. And that's like a testament to both those guys. Because I think a lot of that was Will's selling. I think Will's selling was tremendous throughout this whole entire match. I think it was
absolutely amazing.
I think that's what made part of the match. Like the spot for me, like there was a few like major spots in this match,
really
and I'm gonna forget a bunch, but the one for me that I just will forever love is they had that table, which had already been like Kenny had kind of like jumped through it earlier in the match. There was like a hole in the table, but then to like further that hole with Will Ospreay's head just being smashed through the table, like that one right there. It's like, okay, I've seen a lot of table spots in my day. Never seen one like that.
Yeah.
And the precision as well with that initial off the apron Kenny Omega like stomp through the table. Like if you watch back the replay, you can literally see there's like an inch where he just hits it perfectly to narrowly like miss his ribs, essentially miss Ospreay's ribs as he does the stomp. Like, I don't know. It's fucking black magic with some of these guys, like how they're doing this. Like the amount of, you talk about ring awareness or just like body awareness, I guess it would be, or like that's Enzo can't teach that shit, right? Like that's
it's called parapersonal space.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I just listened to this podcast a couple of weeks ago on it. About this thing, and so that's what I would attribute to. So parapersonal space, which I had no idea of this concept of. It's something that our body is doing. You could never count how many times a day our body does it, but it's like, so our physical reality, like what we can interact with, is like when I spread my arms, like anything outside of the reach of my arms, my feet, and the top of my head, that's outside of my parapersonal space,
right?
And so my body is constantly, like subconsciously, without me thinking about it, thinking I need to be this close to grab that thing, or I need to be this far away to not get hit by that thing, and your body adjusts. And then what happens is your parapersonal space grows. Like if you put a hat on that's really tall, so you put on a wizard hat, you're already tall, you put on a wizard hat, your body is now aware, which is why, like, if you're going through you're like constantly ducking because your body is aware of it. Or like if you hold like a bat, or like you're in a street fight or a steel cage match or something, you get, a kendo stick. Now your parapersonal space is expanded because the kendo stick is now part of you. Your body doesn't know, like your biological body doesn't know that that's something else. It's now just adapting immediately to say, okay, well, this arm's now longer.
It's fascinating.
And they've studied flies and like all these things and how they move through things. So I think that has a lot to do with what you're saying, because
it must be that like that's what clumsy people don't have, right? Like, so like,
I would think that's what clumsy people don't have. And then if you're an athlete at their level, right? I mean, not only that, but they're training it and they're doing muscle memory on top of that. Over and over and over again. I'm sure I'd love to see the type of training that like Omega does, or Ospreay. I would love to just watch a document just on the training right before a big match like that. That would be absolutely stunning to watch. But I think that's what's cool, is that you have like this whole thing that your body is doing, and then you train on top of that with your muscles and your brain and your conscious mind, and that just takes it to the level that you're talking about. There's like inches and half inches that they're just nailing.
Yeah, like, and the amount of trust that you have to have in yourself and the other person has to have in you to do that. Like, it's nuts. I was surprised. I'm happy, but I was surprised it was a clean finish.
Yeah.
I
was surprised it was a
I
clean finish
felt
too.
sure because of having Don Callis there, having the United Empire,
Yep.
around the ring. Like, I just felt sure that there was gonna be like some fuckery to, I guess, move the story further on. And they didn't do that. And I think
Japan deserved that, though.
I think so. I think you're right.
They deserved a clean finish and they deserved that match too.
How did
you could hear the crowd pop here and there too?
Yeah. You could like
just little bits here and there, which obviously is
it's a no-no.
Well, a ton, yeah. But there were one or two times where I audibly heard. It wasn't huge, but I heard little like yeah or like oh and
that might have been
cool.
Well, that might have been too because I know there were some sections of fans that were allowed to cheer, so we just weren't hearing the whole building. We were hearing little pieces that could, but I'm sure there were people in there that I can't imagine going to one of these clap only, wrestling shows because by natural, I'm me, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't know that
I watch it on TV and I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, like all that shit. And I've heard about this, like even in Japan with theme parks, right? Like roller coasters. They were under that same sort of rule. So if they were going to a theme park, they weren't allowed to go down the roller coaster. It's just a natural thing that I don't think
you can have fun, but you can't show it.
Yeah, that you have to like suppress it because of COVID reasons, like all that sort of stuff. I think it's an overblown deal. That's another discussion for another day. But yeah, like it was nice hearing that come back. We can only assume that that's going to increase over time. They've already said that the next Stardom show won't be clap only. Like they're going to be allowed to cheer. So I don't know, like if that's the same deal where there's like certain sections or VIP boxes or whatever that is. But
yeah,
I imagine it's only going to get more normal. What one would assume. And Japanese crowds, they're weird. They're reserved until they're not. Like you can watch even matches before COVID, right? Where they're a lot of like it feels very like tense and still, but but when they get into something big, they're then they go crazy. Yeah. But like in the in-between times when matches are just kind of like progressing and the story's being told, they are quiet until they're not. Japanese crowds are amazing when you get them there, but they're not like a typical WWE crowd that you get one snap suplex and the crowd erupts. Like it's different. It's definitely different. So
yeah, you're also not going to get chants like "this is awesome" or "shut the fuck up."
Mm-hmm. I think there's an amount of respect there they have.
Yeah.
I think there's a definite amount of respect that's why it also means so much when you've got Kitty, like in those types of things. So it was cool. What did you make of the return, or not return, but debut of Mercedes Mone?
I was underwhelmed, in all honesty. Yeah, I was underwhelmed by the entrance. I was also underwhelmed by her work in the ring with the one move.
Weird finisher that she's doing now.
And people are saying that wasn't her fault that she botched. It was like
Kyrie didn't know how to take it or something.
Yeah, I don't know, but either way, I mean, I'll give Mercedes props for the way she handled it because she very quickly dropped down into that DDT. Like she handled it like a pro. Like, but I will say that it didn't really make me feel anything. The whole thing. It actually I got a little annoyed with kind of the way she was acting and the things she was saying. That I was more annoyed than anything. But other than that, I was expecting more. How did you feel?
The pop was a lot quieter than I thought it would be. Again, that could be part and parcel with the state of what they're allowed to do and not, right? I'm sure like it did pretty decent numbers from what I hear. Like the buys were good in anticipation supposedly of her. So like that alone like sort of proves that it's a success, but is it yet? I don't know. None of us know what the contract deal is. If it's just a one and, I mean, it's not a one and done because she's obviously got
She's
this
gonna
match
wrestle
at the
Kyrie, yeah.
gonna wrestle Kyrie, but it's how long she's going to be there. I thought the hair was cool. That was the coolest part about it, was the hair.
It's fucking Bam Bam Bigelow wig.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she's burning. You get the symbolism, right? She's burning off the blue hair from the blueprint of WWE. It's burning off, so it'll be like
I didn't like her gear.
it. I feel like it was.
I get it. It was very Japanese.
Yeah,
and I get but
I don't know. It's almost disrespectful. Is it like you could look at it both ways. It could be like, oh, that's hyper respectful for the fact that, like, look, she's adopting some culture, like she's trying to, pay tribute to, like Japan, right? Then you could also be like, who's this Westerner wearing all this Japanese garb?
Comes over here acting like she's the shit.
Right? Yeah. Like, if anything, I mean, I know she's playing a heel in the story, right? Like, she is. Like, it makes me want Kyrie to win. Like, if I'm a Japanese fan, and this is why I'm like a little bit like, ew, with the whole idea of the booking for it, because she's kind of not Sasha, but Mercedes Moné has to win. Right? Like,
she has to.
She kind of has to win.
She's not going to not win.
Right.
She didn't walk from WWE to come be squashed in her first match back. She fucking walked away.
Exactly. Like, it was... It left a lot to be desired. I think...
I think it's still too early to tell, though, I guess, because we haven't seen all of her work, so...
The big thing is that the match with Kyrie is in the United States. It's in San Jose.
And it's already sold out.
Sold out. That right there is the test. And I think you're going to see a night and day reaction difference. I think you're going to, that pop is going to be deafening.
Well, because you can react.
Because you can react, number one, but it's also, it's home turf anyway for her. She's California, like, she's, I know she claims, what is it, Boston, I want to say.
Yeah, she claims Boston.
But she's, that's like, I don't know. It's
like anyone who lives in like LA. And shit. They're all from like New York, Boston, like, yeah.
She's LA enough to me where she's going to get that hometown sort of pop. And that'll be interesting to see if she still works heel in that match.
Yeah.
Or how that's presented. I imagine she kind of has to. But
yeah, she was born in California. She was born in Fairfield, California, so
yeah, I think she's kind of a back and forth. I know she has some ties.
Oh, but she's billed from Boston or Cambridge.
Yeah. I don't know if that's just a WWE thing, or I think she actually was really from there or lived there for a good amount of time. She began
training at Chaotic Wrestling based in Woburn, Massachusetts in 2008. So that's got to be it, because if she was born in California, but then she did her training
by the harbor,
by the harbor, down by the harbor. How do you like them apples? Oh man, that's what she should have said. She should have said, "How do you like them apples?"
Yeah.
After she did that, what did she say when she did that? She's like, "I own this," or like, "That's what you get," or something.
It was really lame. It was super
fun.
lame.
I was like, "What?"
I do think that's because they're like, you got to keep it simple, non-English speaking audience. You can't cut this. It's like if Asuka comes over here and cuts this like really dramatic, emphatic promo in Japanese, like that goes a minute and a half. Well, it's lost.
She did,
right?
She did do it with what's her name a little while ago.
Oh yeah, well we loved that, but it wasn't a minute and a half promo. It was 15 seconds of her speaking Japanese.
That's true. I also will say, like, as much as my opinion of it, and my opinion, anyone can have any opinion, right? We're just talking about our opinions here.
That's the whole point. Yeah.
But being annoyed by it, not thinking that, that little bit of a botch, I don't know whose fault, whatever, she'd recovered well. Like, the whole thing was okay. Again, it fell flat for me. I was a little irked, but I think that to her credit and to our culture and wrestling culture, we may have expected even that little bit more of a pop.
Right.
Even knowing that the Japanese fans can't really do that, or they don't really typically do that, because I did think when she came out, I had the thought actively as I was watching it. Well, how does she feel about this right now? Right? Does she think that she's getting over, or is she not getting over? Can she actually tell? Can she? I mean, she's seeing it from a different vantage point. She's
Absolutely.
closer. She can see these facial expressions, mannerisms, things. What did she see? I think that would be super interesting. But I also think, like you said, we're going to see a much bigger reaction over here.
Yeah.
And I think the two are going to be completely night and day, right?
Yeah.
And I think you really then can't compare one to the other because of, at least not at this point, because of the cultures, right?
Absolutely. I think also we have to remember, yes, Bushi Road, who owns New Japan, also have, Stardom, but New Japan's never had a women's division until just recently. Stardom has been women's wrestling that's New Japan related, adjacent, we'll say,
But not
in New Japan. So they're trying to figure this shit out, like, as they're going. They're trying to figure it out too. It's new for the audience. It's new for the company. So those are, I haven't heard a lot of people talk about that, in a sense that I think I think the position on the show was indicative of that. Like, it was early. Like that.
Yeah.
If I'm me and I'm New Japan, I'm putting that on way later in the show.
Yeah.
And to give it a little more gravitas. Speaking of the order of the show, I understand why they had to do it, but because of how good the Ospreay Omega match was, Okada and Jay White suffered. And it wasn't a bad match, but it also sounds like Jay White might not be long for New Japan. Yeah.
Like WWE and AEW supposedly interested.
I mean, why? He's already been in AEW, right? We already, through part of the New Japan deal. But I can weirdly see him going to WWE, just because I think he'd stand out more there than at this point in AEW, when you've got your Kennys and you've got a lot of these guys that are, like elite adjacent as well, right? You've got a lot of that going on. There is a sort of Bullet Club influence on both. I just don't know. I don't know that I've gotten Jay White.
You've said that before, I'm very similar.
I still don't know that I really dig his in-ring style. Like, I find he can be plotting. Like, his matches, I get some of the story. Maybe I'm not engrossed in enough of his stories to fully, really get.
That makes me wonder, because his promos over here and such didn't really grab me either.
They're not bad, though. They're not bad.
Though.
They're good.
But there's something about him. Or
yeah.
How he says or does, like his move, like you said, his move set, like.
It's the package. If there's a few little different things that maybe irk me or I don't connect with, and it's like the package of, like, if it was just one, I could probably get over it. But there's a few little ones that I'm not like. I'll be honest, I kind of see this not so much lately, and maybe it's ain't a racist thing, but the New Zealand accent is kind of weird and humorous at times, and I find just on a personal level, I think on a personal level, I find it funny to listen to.
I'd meet you there.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, like, I can take Will Ospreay more seriously because those Essex boys are bruv, and they talk like fuck you, like they're nasty, right? Like, there's a nasty quality to the way they talk. It's very lowbrow. It's very lower income, street kid type deal for the UK. I don't know what that is in New Zealand.
I don't know if that is in New Zealand either. And maybe he is portraying that to a T, and we just don't know.
Don't know. Exactly. Yeah. I don't really get it. And good luck to him. Like, people seem to like him. I don't know that he's going to translate that great to American audiences.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if he would translate that great in WWE.
Mhm.
If anywhere, I would think AEW, but to your point, he's not really needed there. We already
No.
saw him there. I don't think he got over really well.
He didn't. I think that was the test, and that's why I'm kind of surprised to hear this, because he's like, I think he's a real introvert in his personal life as well. He doesn't talk much. Like he's real low key, and I know for a fact that he does have a place here. He has a place in America. I want to say he has a place in Tampa, but it's like a vacation home or something. It's like a getaway. But he has, I would have thought, like I believe he's even talked about kind of being underwhelmed at the response he got in AEW, and kind of thought that, like, okay, well, that's a sign that he's probably going to stay in New Japan for a while.
How old is he?
I think he's older than Ospreay.
He is. I just Googled it. Oh, he's 30 years old.
Still pretty young. What's Ospreay at?
Ospreay is. I was just wondering because that like would tell you like, does he have enough time to kind of cultivate that? Like he has all this kind of momentum, even if he doesn't translate fully. You can build your character. That's what wrestlers do. I mean, that's their business. So
yeah, he can always get there. He can always get there. You know, like if he's got it, if he's, you know, he can.
Ospreay's 29.
Yeah, okay, so right around the same age then. I feel like Ospreay has a better chance in the U.S. than he does. Than Jay White. I absolutely.
Ospreay's got him by 11 pounds, at least build.
Oh, dude, Ospreay would beat the fuck. I feel like Ospreay.
They're the exact same height.
All right, yeah.
6'1".
So anyway, that's enough about. Oh, one more thing. I found this funny scrolling through Reddit. I found a thread that was clearly a new New Japan fan, and was saying that, right? It was like kind of like, oh, I heard this was great, so I checked out the Kenny Omega Will Ospreay match, spent the $7 or whatever, and never had really had much experience with ever seeing Will Ospreay, and was talking him up and all that, and he starts saying like, are there any other great Australian pro wrestlers like Will Ospreay? And
what did the internet do?
Well, the internet.
I need to look this up.
The internet wasn't. They weren't like, honestly, they weren't actually that mean. Because everything else he said about the match was actually pretty well written, pretty thought out, whatever. He just happened to have made this mistake, and he's like, well, then he's not. Wait, he's not Australian. Then why is it called the Oz Cutter? And
oh my gosh! Wow.
You know the name.
That's fine.
And you can see.
I'm sighing because he said that on the internet to people.
Yeah.
Like,
you feel bad for him, right? And you could see like one like. I know it could be probably a troll, but it was one after the other of this guy just feeling less and less like, shit, like it just
where was this?
It was on Reddit Squared Circle. It'd probably be pretty hard to find at this point, but
I just did type in Will Ospreay Australia to Google,
and then he he was confused. Well, then why is he buddies with the Australian Open? And then they were like, yeah, he's also in a faction called the United Empire. And it was all you could see the like, oh shit, it was clicking and like, fuck, how did I get that one so wrong?
Yeah. Well, he's a new wrestling fan.
Yeah, no, I was happy for the guy. He was, you know, he was having some fun.
Yeah.
Moving on. What do you think of the new AEW look?
I don't hate it. I was expecting them to. We all talked about it, even with Duncan on the podcast. Like the one thing we wanted them to keep were tunnels, and to an extent, they kind of did. But
they have separate
Might
entrances.
do.
They have separate entrances. They did
mean,
almost. I think Duncan said exactly what they did. Like basically, like a screen in front of a screen, so that there's still kind of a
you
walkway
can see the
through.
Depth. I do.
I like the depth. I like that. I do like that.
They did a couple
I think
of
Duncan
cool
almost
things.
I think he really did almost call exactly what that set was gonna look like. Like it
Yeah.
I wanted more physical things. I wanted it to be more physical than just the screens. Like
That's what I was hoping for too.
no lasers. Was there any
No
lasers?
I was expecting lasers.
I wanted lasers. The commentary desk looks dope as fuck. Like that
The
whole
yeah.
side angle that they have with them, that looked great. The lighting was better. I've just heard from like reports from the arena that it was like crazy bright. Like bring it like if you're in especially if it's a densely lit area, bring a pair of sunglasses, man, because it's like that bright. It was distracting, you know. And these were people that have been to previous Dynamites and stuff. That it was almost like, remember a couple years back, one of the WrestleManias had like that light pointed at people, and
was that the one we were at?
it might have been, and there were it was actually.
Yeah. Turn that light off.
Yeah. But there were people that actually got refunds because they couldn't
really?
stick, like they were exactly in it, and they even like proved it. Like guys, like you were straight up just blasting people in the face, like they couldn't see. Like we got a bit of it, but that light, like there are people like, so that might be part of an issue they need to look at for AEW on TV. I mean, it made the crowd look good. The crowd is usually hyped for Dynamite. So it's good to make him, like, in comparison to, like, you watch this last week's Raw and they're fucking dead. So you want to showcase that, right? You want to showcase how electric these live audiences are, because it's going to make more people want to go to the show. Like, they look at how much fun they're having. They're into it, so on and so forth. But I just felt it, like, it looked different than WWE, but it looked more like WWE, but not quite as good as WWE. So it was like you're still looking a little more low budget, which is fine. That part has never bothered me. But now you're looking still a little lower budget, and you're copying the WWE. So like, I just don't. For me, it did have a ton of differences from WWE production, and it still looked a little grittier. But I don't know. I feel like it might have been like, I don't know if it was the step in the right direction. Again, I don't hate it, but I'm underwhelmed. Yeah,
I'm underwhelmed too. It's also, I just pulled up some images just of some of this other stuff they did just on TV, and we already talked about it last week, like those lasers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking at some of the stills of just like, Dynamite Live, that sort of thing. That red and blue is very Raw and SmackDown.
It's so Raw and
but
SmackDown.
It's also, the one I'm looking at right now is also so reminiscent of like American Gladiators, is the vibe that I'm getting too.
Well, the lasers were reminding me of American Gladiators, like on the commercial.
I just don't know why they have like that in the package for TV in commercials and promo and that, but they didn't seem to bring that vibe to the entrance or to the like something I'm looking at right now. Do you remember when they had the chandelier and everything, they had those bars that would come down and they would use them like horizontal, vertically all over, but they were always like yellow or gold, that sort of color, like
I loved it in the beginning when like the intro had the splashes of paint with all these different kind of crazy kind of colors, but it wasn't NXT 2.0. It was like, I don't know, the color palette was more pastel. It was less like
something.
I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, and I don't know, but they had those elements, those colors were in the show as well as in the marketing. Is that kind of what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, the marketing and the stage and the entrance don't seem to match up to me. Look right now that at least what I'm looking at and what I'm remembering, but like right now I'm seeing like the red and the blue, like those long lights, like almost tubes, right? But they use those for like the chandelier and everything. But like I said, they were always yellow, but in this one promo it's blue and they're red, and it looks fucking cool because it's done dimensionally, right?
Right.
But they just didn't add any of that.
The only time they did in the show that I can remember this past week was, or just on the past, it was on the Dynamite. Just during the MJF promo, the whole MJF promo, like he came out and everything with his entrance, but then it went when he was on the stage the whole entire time. They did that purposely. He was on the stage with that backlit behind him. And it definitely had all those colors, and it had that kind of blended. That was from the marketing to the stage look.
Okay, maybe I'm not remembering that then.
There were a few times, and they were trying to do it with, the lights around like the concourse in the arena.
Yeah,
like
that
those
was different. That had the blue and the red.
That had the blue and the red.
Yeah, that did the banners. Yeah,
the banner.
the banners
LEDs.
did. You're right about that. But I guess I was more speaking about the entrance. But I didn't think about the MJF thing. I will say, and this is just going to make me sound like an old man, and I don't give a fuck. But like, I had a friend recently say something about going to see some concerts, and I was like, I really don't even care who it is anymore. All the production is the fucking same. Let's throw a huge fucking screen behind it.
Yeah.
Whoever it is,
Yeah.
a band, a DJ, whatever, put a bunch of lasers up there and do this. And that's kind of what I felt with this. Was like, oh yeah, just put a fucking giant screen.
Yeah.
WWE has giant screen. It's kind of just standard.
Thankfully, I do. Again, we all like the depth of it, and what I think this is going to do is massively improve, because they can take this set, expand on it. This is going to massively improve the look of pay-per-views, because they'll probably do that ramp that they've done in the past, kind of the LED ramp, which looks fucking mint. Revolution has always looked really good. Like it's always looked like their biggest top notch. Yeah. And I think that this is going to play nicely with the other elements that they bring in for pay-per-views that can blend in with making all of these, like, especially because they love to do their New Year's Smash or whatever, or that's an NXT one, but you get my point.
I was like New Year's Smash.
Goddamn it! There's so many of them, but
I think that's the one I was at.
Whatever the fuck. Like, there's just so many of these, like, sort of kind of like specials that AEW does for Dynamites, that they St. Patrick's Day bash or whatever the hell it is. They're gonna be able to use some of this, and I think it's going to probably make those feel like a little more special. That's what I'm hoping, because I think it's a very malleable set, and I think that's probably why they've done it.
And also now I see a picture of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So this is a wide shot actually, and they are using the red and the blue. And what's actually cool about this, because of the dimensionality is set up.
They look like
on the
they're
screens,
real,
but they're doing it like the picture I'm looking at right now, which I didn't see, are those tube lights, but they're projected on.
That's what I'm saying.
The wide shot I just want it to makes it look way deeper, and it makes it look like the AEW logo is like floating out front, which is kind of cool.
I think we're might be.
That's actually cooler.
Yeah, I think, and there was a reason that they had MJF with that behind him for a long ass time. Right when he was out there. I
realized that. I had to Google it.
I think when we see it live, we're gonna be more impressed. I think honestly, we're gonna be like, okay, yeah, that's an upgrade when we see it live compared to what we're used to with the tunnels and everything, because they still have heel and face entrances. That's the bottom line.
I'm fine with it.
There's no center entrance
that we know of,
but there could be. Who knows?
Yeah.
All it takes is Cody to change his mind and come back, and it's there. A couple of just little things from AEW and actually the wrestling this week. I know you're not the biggest fan of him, but I was really, really happy that Darby got the TNT title back from Samoa Joe. I thought it was the right call. I think that he's in the right place right now to put. I think it's a smart move by Tony Khan and just AEW in general, demographics, all that type of stuff. It makes complete fucking sense to be putting that belt on Darby Allin.
It is.
I mean, we'll just raise another generation of school shooters, but you know,
like one thing though, And I know he's like, I just can't get past that. Like, he's like 120 pounds.
I know. We've talked about it a million times.
They even mentioned something like during that, like that he was up 120, or he said something about being, and I'm like 120? Like, really? I don't know. But he does do some good things, and I do think it's smart. And I'm going to continue to be a fucking smart tonight because apparently that's the vibe I'm on. But there was
it's fine.
I couldn't deal with him when that promo came on, like from when they went off the air. Just the first sentence, I just.
What did he
cringed.
say? I can't remember it.
Said,
it was cringy.
Like,
yeah.
Hey, Seattle, does this microphone work? Or like,
I'm like, so edgy right now.
Yeah, I was like, shut the fuck up, God. Yeah. That's just me being smarky and nitpicky.
No.
But I mean, it was a right move.
It
also,
was.
That part wasn't
and the match
televised.
was good. You know, again, we've said that Samoa Joe has really turned around, like turned that corner. Yeah. We were not impressed by him at all. Another great match with Joe. The right move. Another, like, I mean, say what you will about Darby, but whew, like, I don't know how he's going to be able to move in 5 years, 10 years.
I mean, who do you think is telling him to, like, watch it or slow down?
I think no one. I just think he's just
just gonna do what he wants. I mean, you see the shit that he does on his social media, like when he's not wrestling.
Exactly.
He's like fucking
jumping off cliffs
Circus and Nitro Circus. Dude, he like jumped a car over his house into a fucking tree the other day. Or something.
An explorer.
For fun.
An explorer. He built a ramp, jumped a just for
dude,
fun.
You don't have to do that.
No, he probably does it. He gets his kicks out of it, and
that's it. He's addicted, man. He's got that's his addiction is the adrenaline rush.
I guess so. And no one's. I mean, he was doing this for hot dog and a handshake on the Indies before AEW, so it's not like
living in a car. Yeah.
Tony Khan has not been like, I'll pay you extra money to basically kill yourself. This guy was doing it for pennies. So
just don't die.
What's next for Joe?
You know, I was wondering that. Do you think that he ends up just doing Ring of Honor stuff? Or, I mean, he seems like he's on such a good little run right now, even though he lost the title. Like you said, I've come around on him in this run. And I don't know.
It would be a shame, and I don't think it is. It hasn't been dramatic enough for it to be the end of his wrestling career completely, especially when he's shown that he has some gas in the tank. Like, if he had not improved from what we were seeing in his first couple of AEW matches, I'd be like, okay, yeah, it's time for Joe to go now, pack it up,
go home.
But I feel like he deserves one big retirement feud of some description.
So who would that be with?
I feel like they're gonna do something with him and Sting, like the TNA shit, like works, like another.
Sting has said that he's.
I know. He said, but he said that, but that could be a red herring. You know, like that could be. I know they have a lot of mutual respect. I know they have a lot of history. I can see them doing something like that. If it's not Sting, I feel like it's some other sort of TNA type legend. Somebody's paying like homage to, and they can have one last sort of like go at it, one last feud. I mean, it might even be like, I don't really know enough TNA Impact and his major feuds, but I mean, you've got Jay Lethal, you've got Jeff Jarrett, you've got, like a good number, Christian, right? You've got a good number of TNA Impact guys that are legends that I could see Joe wanting to have one last go with, take care of that, and then maybe put another younger talent out on the way, on another talent over on his way out, like a Starks or something like that after that, like kind of legacy feud thing that he maybe need to scratch his itch with.
Yeah, it's all right. So looking at just Googling this really quickly. So according to the Sportster, Samoa Joe's 5 greatest WWE rivalries and his 5 best in TNA. So, Do you want to? We don't have to do the WWE ones. Do you want to?
And let's not forget Ring of Honor as well. Like, it's probably more likely it could be Ring of Honor.
Probably is. I had just typed in TNA.
Sure. Well, I didn't mention that either, but I'm forgetting a huge portion just by not mentioning that, So
yeah, well, and that's what I said.
Maybe once upon a time, this was all going to revolve around Punk.
Maybe. Yeah.
I mean, that would make a ton of sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. So this last one that I just saw, so we pretty much covered everyone. So not doing the WWE people, but TNA feuds. AJ Styles, not gonna happen.
Right.
Christopher Daniels. Kurt Angle in TNA. Let's see. Sting in TNA, like you said. But this is the one that got me. Magnus. Nick Aldis, who apparently is now a free agent.
That'd be a cool way to bring him in. Yeah.
To do a Ring of Honor thing and have him and Joe, because that's what I was saying at the beginning. Does Joe go and just do Ring of Honor stuff, and maybe he defends and does it on AEW TV because there's really no other place right now?
I know it's constantly said, right? Tony, stop hiring people. Hire Nick Aldis. Hire Nick Aldis.
Yeah.
Hire Aldis all day long. He's a fucking class act. He's a good businessman. He is great in the ring, great on the mic. He would almost be able to fill a bit of a role of a Regal in a way. A different style. Carries much different.
Himself, yeah,
but there's something there, right? And I just feel like there's not necessarily a guy like the closest thing they have to this, like it's the same as Cody. It's this insane professional person, always going to be in a suit, always going to look boss, always like going to be top of his game at everything he can be, with his physique, with his wrestling, with his promos. He is the consummate professional, the guy you want to build companies around. He would sort of fit what they're missing with Cody. And the only other guy that's doing that, but doing it in a completely different way and cocky way, is MJF. So he could be the face of that subversion of that. And I think that AEW is desperate for that guy since Cody left. I think that
they don't have that.
They don't have that. So he would be a great signing. I think that he would stand out much differently than a lot of other people that have come in and, like, for instance, besides the injury, you're sort of Adam Cole's. Okay, so you're just another young buck, Kenny Omega. You fit in this mold too closely that now you're not, different enough in a lot of ways. Nick Aldis is different than anybody they have on their roster and will stand out because of that. And he's that,
he can back it up.
He's the in-between of indie sensation and WWE, like, perfect superstar that you need. And he's not like when I say indie sensation, he's not your typical indie sensation. He feels like more of a sports entertainer professional than he does an indie guy.
Yeah.
So hire Nick Aldis. Forgot why we got on that, but we did. But
we did because of
Joe. I think with Joe, you can do a couple things with him as well if you want to keep him on a more reduced schedule. Please put him in just Paul Wights' position on Dark Elevation, like on commentary. Like just I mean, we know we can do it. If nothing else, like Joe's great at that. And he can also he can be a manager of like a stable or something, or someone else that can still wrestle. That can he can almost MVP it, right? Like he could still have a match, but he's a manager. He's like helping someone new or what have you. I was thinking as well, I'm sure you saw this, there was a big moment after Darby won the TNT title. He had oh God, what's his name? Nick Wayne. Now talk about an indie sensation. Nick Wayne is the kid that Tony Khan signed.
Yeah.
When he basically says
he
the minute
that
he turns 18 and graduates high school, it revolves around him getting his high school diploma, that he's got a job. that he is literally already signed with the company. He
Yep.
can't work for the company legally, but he can work indies. He can work,
Yep.
these mud shows or whatever. But after he's good buddies with Darby, and they train together, and they're from the same region. So Darby brought him in the ring, basically told him like, "Hey, one day you're gonna get a shot at this, and don't fuck up. Basically, graduate high school." Tells him. But what if you had something cool like that, where either you have Joe put Nick Wayne over on the way out, or Joe becomes his manager to take down Darby and teaches him this smaller indie guy with all the promise in the world, two very unlikely, pairings. How cool would it be to kind of see that, to him, like, having some turn on Darby to be able to like elevate him in that process. Like, I don't know. I'm thinking outside the box here, but I'm just looking at what's presented to me, right? You've got the obvious Sting possibility just because of the connections to Darby, and now you're throwing out some Nick Wayne stuff. Like, I don't know. There's something. I mean, it might be as simple as a Samoa Joe beatdown on Nick Wayne that leads to.
But that's got to be a while away, right?
Oh yeah,
I
mean,
yeah,
exactly,
so-
exactly. So there's got to be something in the interim, and that's why I say the Sting thing. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe Danielson's.
Do you think he's a feud for MJF to squash? Maybe not squash, but like MJF will win.
Yeah, I mean, that could actually work. It would give MJF some cred. They would be great on the microphone against each other.
Yeah.
You've got to turn Joe face, but I don't think that's hard. Crowd's always going to cheer Joe.
Yeah.
I don't hate that. I don't actually hate that. I mean, I don't like it from the perspective of Joe's never going to beat MJF.
Yeah.
But I feel like
it's a way for MJF's story and his reign to continue and to build more cred behind his reign.
I feel like Joe can be so brutal in the ring, especially against an MJF as a face. He can be so brutal that they might be able to convince us for a minute or two that, oh my God, are they really about to do this? Like,
yeah,
like I think that they could, but I don't know. That's all I have really, like, that was biting at me to talk about with AEW this past week or so.
Okay.
Obviously we had a Orange Cassidy retention of the All Atlantic belt. I kind of feel like that's a mistake. I feel like Kip Sabian and whatnots like needs to have that, and they need to actually like start having that belt defended in Rev Pro and all in different places. Like, the original concept of that belt seems to have just disappeared completely. Like, for what I thought it was going to be, like a championship that was kind of being defended all over the place. Now it's just it's the European title on AEW. It's just another belt.
It totally is.
Yeah.
I was just. I had two things AEW related.
Sure. Let's hit those before we take a break.
Yeah, if we could. I just wanted to get your opinion. I only saw the clips and the news, but Jericho Appreciation Society showing up at Battle of Los Angeles for Wrestling Guerrilla.
I haven't seen it. I mean, I saw the headline, but that's literally about all I saw.
Yeah. So, I mean, they competed against, I know the pictures I saw had Evil Uno in it.
That was like a dark order-ish match.
It was, I think, I did just Google it. I saw some stuff on Instagram. Some videos of it. So,
and Jericho was there.
So, and they wrestled. So Jericho, Daniel Garcia, Sammy, Matt Menard, Angelo Parker, defeated, let's see, Jonathan Gresham, Evil Uno, SB Kento, Michael Oku, and Kevin Blackwood in a 10-man tag match.
Okay. I mean, it's a big deal because it's
and no one was expecting it.
No one was expecting it. And I feel like, I don't know, I guess it's just another bragging rights thing for Jericho to say he's done it. And like Like,
like I've been on the indies.
yeah,
like these
yeah,
indies.
yeah. Because like he hasn't
I'm
been
a
on the
multi-generation
right
indie.
indie superstar. Like he's gonna pull something like that. Like
I don't know. I think it's kind of cool.
dude. Well, think about it. If Jericho starts just picking up like random GCW dates and shit and like bigger indies across the world, and the Jericho appreciate, I mean, that's huge. Jericho
coming to
Appreciation
Lucha Libre
Society
and
coming,
laughs.
right? Like, do it for like a few months, just like pick up a few random ones, shits and giggles. I mean, that could boost the indie scene tremendously, right? Like, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
It's
that's
probably
true.
it's probably just a one-off. He knows how like that show in particular, Bola always gets all the eyes, because it's like they've recruited so many people from that show. Like that's half the Ring of Honor kids like that went to WWE. Like William Regal saw him there. You know, that's
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Maybe
it's
it's
a bragging. It's a bragging rights thing, and it'll probably be woven into some storyline. But you know, they're not going to do anything like truly significant in the
No, they're not
tournament,
going to.
like-
But I'm wondering if just from some of the other wrestlers that are not in Jericho Appreciation, like does it bring a little bit more
doesn't piss
eyes?
them off, or like this, yeah,
Well, or does
they-
it just like bring like, oh
Yeah.
wow, like Kevin took the fucking Judas effect. You know, that's
Sure.
cool.
yeah,
You know, I don't know.
yeah. No, that's a decent point. That's a decent point.
But I'm not gonna put it past you. I totally agree with you. In Jericho's mind, it's a
Yeah.
fucking bragging. Like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he's now the fucking. He's the Ocho of belts. He's the fucking like I've wrestled in every
In
promotion.
every promotion ever, exactly.
Anywhere.
Like, I've been
yeah.
a champion everywhere I've ever been.
Yeah.
Even though that's not true, of course, but yes, it's
Last thing I had before break was Andrade Idolo posting a picture of his mask on Twitter this morning with just the cryptic message in all caps, bye. And then I guess a fan asked Conrad Thompson why Andrade didn't follow him, to which Conrad replied, he doesn't listen to podcasts or need a mortgage.
It's a quality.
With a smiley face,
that's
yeah.
a quality Conrad, you know.
It is.
So.
And then, but Andrade then responded to that.
Because they're distant relatives, technically, right? Because of the whole, yeah, they're like,
because of the whole Charlotte
thing and all that, yeah.
And then he responded and said, someday I will be with you in the podcasts and I will talk about everything. Sueña interesante, which I think means very interesting.
I mean, I'm sure there is a lot to dissect there, but that's a perfect segue because I feel like that might have to do not only with AEW, but maybe the other side of the fence that that he's possibly straddling at the moment. And that other side of the fence has had a lot of interesting developments over the last couple days. And I think that's probably what we'll talk about when we get back from the break. But my my gut with Andrade, he's gonna be back in AEW soon, and this is just a bit of shit posting from him. I think that I don't think he's jumping the fence. I think that this is kind of like, you know, he was doing that thing with the mask where we'd come out with the mask and take it up. Maybe he's just not gonna be doing that. Like maybe he's saying just like this could mean
that. Maybe it's a whole new thing, like
yeah.
what he was doing with the Hardy thing, and then taking over in his stable, and
he needs to ditch that altogether. So like some form of reinvention is necessary when Andrade comes back, and that's indeed what he should be doing. Is saying goodbye to that gimmick, and hello to like kind of the future. That's all I think it is. I think that he ends up like eventually back in WWE. Yeah, I do. But I don't think that he's done with AEW. I think that because of that whole deal with, what was it? It was with Sammy, right?
Yeah.
I think because of that, some tensions happened, but I'm not even convinced that one was real, by the way.
Not either.
Because look how close it was from that happening to then him announcing that he was getting surgery on his elbow, bicep, something. It was an arm. I think it was an arm related shoulder, maybe. Can't remember at this point. But yeah,
Shoulder, I think.
It was, yeah, it might have been shoulder, but it was like a couple weeks later, and then he even like said, so this was like done last week or something. Like the post that he posted was like predating when it happened. It wasn't like I'm in hospital now recovering.
I vaguely remember.
It was like this was like a week or so ago.
Yeah.
So like the time frame kind of makes it seem like it was just all a work, and that there was a backstage altercation with, and who knows? It's probably work shoot to a degree, right? There probably is something there, but maybe it was overly delivered in a way so that you can write him off TV for a while because of a suspension and then an injury, and like it's all like a mystery when he comes back. Like there's kind of a story to tell there if they want to tell it. I'm not convinced
That's
they
true.
will, but
Well, we'll end it on, I'll tell you this. Sounds interesting, which is the actual translation. I fucked it up. Sueña interesante. I thought it was very interesting. It sounds interesting, and what you just proposed, Sueña interesante.
all right. That's perfect. I wish I had some more Latin sounding break music to go to, but I'll probably play something just to keep us going. Guys, we will be back. If you're on the Twitch, we will be back in like 10 minutes. We'll give ourselves a 10-minute pee break, smoke break, whatever it is that you want to break your poo with. That being said, if you're on the podcast, just stick around for a little bit more of the Oh No Wrestling Podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a way to start off with a second edition segment. I don't know how I'm going to release this yet. It might be as one podcast, it might be as two, but hey, we are back. This is the Ono Wrestling Podcast. My name is Owen. I am your Shartbreak Kid, and along with me, as always, it seems, is the one and only modern day Maharaja Matthew Stafford in the building. That's right. Oh, shit. I think you're muted still, bud.
Oh yeah.
There it is. There
Oh
it
yeah.
is.
I was muted, brother.
Oh, yeah, we can't leave that out. And, man, I wonder what he would be thinking, old Mach, looking down at the wrestling industry in the WWE from the heavens above. Been, decided to kind of keep this on its own segment because I feel like it warrants it, right? Like, it's one of these that it fails. Like, usually it's right as we go off air that we like some crazy big news breaks and like we're like, fuck, like this crazy thing happened, and I'm sure even that will happen while we're doing this show. But I wanted to keep it as its own segment because right before we went on air, we got the news that Stephanie McMahon has resigned from her position, which was that of co-CEO, right, with Nick Kahn.
Yep.
And so she has resigned, and she has stepped down from the board of directors. She is basically has no power, I would assume, or control of the WWE. I would assume she still has stock, and
I'm sure she has stock,
her stock is probably not gone anywhere. And I know, of course, Triple H, Paul Levesque, her husband, has stock, but this comes only a few days removed from the announcement by one Vince Kennedy McMahon that he was essentially in as many ways exercising the rights that he has having a Class B stock that gives him the ability to essentially appoint himself back into a role on the board of directors. Am I getting that somewhat correct, Matthew?
Yeah, I think you're pretty much on.
It's tough because I'm no businessman, and I know a thing or two now about the wrestling business. I like to think I do, or but
They're like Class B stocks are like subordinate voting shares, I think.
yeah,
So
they're weighted
worth-
heavier. They're weighted heavier than other stocks. So that's what's given him the ability to slide back in. Is it been 6 months? I forgot when he resigned at this point now, but
when did he? It was over the summer, wasn't it?
it was.
The summer was when the lawsuits came out.
I don't know if it's been a full 6 months. I don't think it has. I feel like it's somewhere around that time frame, I want to say. But
you're right. It was so July 22nd.
Okay. So, not far off.
Mid-summer, yeah.
Right. So it's right around a 6-month period that Triple H has had control of creative. What is he, the chief creative officer? Or no,
officer,
it's something like
talent.
It might be worded differently, but just call him head of creative, right? Like that's it for short. And I think we can all say that there's been a lot of big improvements and interest in the WWE with Vince stepping down and Triple H taking control of creative. That has largely been a positive. Wouldn't we all agree?
Yes, 100%. Chief content officer.
Content officer. Yeah, I knew it was something, but essentially, head of creative. So that leaves Nick Kahn now with Stephanie stepping down. That leaves Nick Kahn as the sole CEO of the WWE. They have said that Paul Levesque will remain in his role. So I guess one could see that as a positive. But now Vince is back in and has rehired, I forgot the two big names, but the people that he fired a couple years back, I want to say in like sort of 20, I can't remember what it was, but it was prior, I want to say, to like the big layoffs that they had the COVID related layoffs. It was prior to that. And these were the people sort of responsible for the WWE network. And they were deemed that it was not profitable. WWE network, for all it can be seen as like a major triumph in the streaming industry, was a terrible business move by WWE. It was a big money loss, for them. And so these two people who were previously on the board of directors, they got fired. Now Vince has basically brought them back. And from what I'm gathering, he brought them back to basically have the votes with Nick Kahn to then vote himself back in the ultimate position of power. Basically, he's back at the top prior to his, and I hate to say this, he did not retire. He was forced into resignation. Let's not forget this. He was forced into resignation due to allegations of paying off people, rape, fucking heinous sex crimes, essentially. And what has his punishment been? A 6-month paid vacation. That's
less than 6 months. And I don't even know if he was forced. Like, he says he's now blaming it on, like, he got bad advice from people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess probably kind of forced. Like, you should do this.
Yes.
And yeah. But I think this has been brewing for a while, ever since he quote went into retirement. I'm sure he was already working a sale or something like that, because we had discussed that much like previously, right?
Oh, years ago.
But
years ago. This has been,
but even leading up to this with Nick Kahn and like all these other things that were happening.
I think that we've been having this conversation about the WWE potentially selling since before the invent of AEW. I think we've been having this conversation since almost the very, very early days of the podcast. And it was only then very much hyped up, or heightened rather, when Nick Kahn came into the picture.
Yeah. And I don't think there's been as much, I'm willing to be wrong here, but I don't think there's been as much press ever in regard to WWE being sold or looking into that as there has been right now
in the last 5 days.
All of the media was reporting on and giving like, here are the top 5 contenders and things, which leads me to believe that he was shopping this around well before his retirement.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that happened, he started talking to a lot more people, and it all comes down to money, I'm sure, at the end, and how much they're all gaining and everything, but also what he could push through, which is really scary because it really makes me look at fucking Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into all the potential buyers and the possibilities of what could occur from this, and the better ones, the worst ones. I want to deep dive into this with you because I think it's interesting. Like, I really do. I mean, it's going to,
I think we should.
No matter what, it's going to reshape in some fashion or form. It's going to reshape the wrestling world as we know it, as we've known it since we were kids.
Well, and to finish that thought really quickly was just that he's been doing that for a little while, and like him making this return when that happened, whatever deal is somewhat close, because there has to have been paperwork and people have been going back and forth and redlining and looking at financials and doing things for a long time, I'm sure. And I'm sure there were a couple who were interested, but I'm sure something now is contingent on him being back in that seat.
I think it goes to something we kind of talked about off air that I mentioned, in the fact that a lot of people have been asking, what has Vince McMahon, what does he do now that he's retired? What does he do in his off time? What has Vince McMahon been doing this whole time? Here's your goddamn answer. He's been working on this deal. That's honestly, like, to me, the simplest answer. He's never stopped. He's let Triple H and, to an extent, I guess, Nick Kahn and Stephanie sort of run the show, because he needs his time to focus on the biggest sale of a wrestling promotion of all time. And a way to protect, I'm sure he's concentrating on finding ways to ensure that the legacy is protected, that it goes to the do you think he cares that it would like if it's not in his hands? Do you think he cares that it goes to Trips or or Nick Kahn or whatever? Like if he sells, he's out. Do you think he even cares who it goes to, or do you think he cares about the legacy so much of the WWF and what he's built that that's a major like point of contention with him?
I don't think it's a point of contention, but I think it's a point where he would say, these people are in charge of this for this amount of
X
time,
amount of years or whatever.
and you all can choose to do that's between you all after that. But the deal, the deal is contingent on that. I think, you're right. I think it is something like that.
Yeah, I don't think you, for instance, I don't think you sell it to a Disney, for instance, and you start putting Disney writers in and Disney directors and like that type of deal, right? I think that would be something he would be firmly like, no, like we built it like this. It looks like this. This is what it is. This is the.
But he has to realize that. I mean, he can write a bunch, but whoever's paying that much money at the end of the day,
it will be theirs, and they.
I mean, look at what fucking. Like when Elon, he kind of fucked it up trying to with Twitter and then the blue checks and charging and like all this shit. Like, it's that same type of thing. Like you can buy something, and once you buy it, it is yours. There's a platform you're not going to change. You're not going to change pro wrestling or probably the branding or Raw or SmackDown. You can't do that because that's
you're stupid if you're that person buying it.
What are you paying for?
Yeah, if you're
paying for that,
it's in the best interest. Well, it's in the best interest of the person purchasing the company to keep your Nick Khans and Triple H's and your head of offices and that type of deal.
Like, what are you buying? You're
what are you
buying? Everything. You're not going to.
That's a dumb. That would be a dumb move. That's like buying Star Wars and getting rid of Luke Skywalker from the movies, right? Like that just doesn't make any sense. That being said, though, just because they like a company can buy it and say, yes, we will pay the salary of this person in this position for X amount of years, but they could also WCW them, right? Where the wrestlers, like, it could go both ways. That person could just collect the check and not do it if they're like, there could be a contract being bought out, right? That's already in place. So they have to buy out a contract. They can just sit at home or what have you, buy out the contract. There's things like that might be in there. There's things that, hey, we do want to go in a completely different direction. We don't want Triple H at the helm of creative. We're going to still pay him. And he's going to get all the money as if, like, he was there. But we're going to put our own team of people or person in charge. I think that's a thing as well. Again, my biggest bone of contention with all this is Vince McMahon will not pay for any of the sins that he committed.
Well, this is bigger news than what that was.
And that really, that's bothersome. That's going to, I feel like we all knew the stuff with Vince was probably true, and then more and more kept coming out, but at least with the resignation, it was like a sort of making nice to the public, right? Like, we know you guys, like, for a certain portion of the audience, we know that this is like awkward having Vince around. That's why he stepped down. I still believe why all this happened, right? He was, you probably should get your ass off TV and, go away and, make yourself less of a figurehead just for the public. And it was enough for a bit, I think, with us with WWE to be like, okay, maybe they're trying to right the wrong. This is the complete backwards step from that. This is the, wrestling fans, they'll always love Vince. They'll always cheer him. And you know what? They're kind of right. WWE is not wrong when they know that they can get away with this. They will get away with this.
Oh, 100%
and
they will.
But I don't have to be okay with that. Like, I think that's what I'm trying to say You know, like
I mean, I think it's a much closer to home thing when like the deal with Saudi Arabia, right? That's they
sure,
get away with it. We don't like it. We still watch WWE product, right?
correct.
This is a little, Saudi Arabia, horrible government, human rights violations, all that.
Hmm.
But this is like,
Dude,
we grew up with this guy and what he's done and what he's built, and now to get an amazingly even bigger payday when you don't really need any more money.
I mean, it's Qatar in the World Cup for me as well. Like
Yeah.
it's I'm a huge hypocrite because I know that Qatar's an awful country again with the human like rights violations. But I watched pretty much every game I could get my hands on of that World Cup, and it was like a fascinating, great tournament. And
Yeah.
like fuck, like even the last few Saudi Arabia pay-per-views, right? Now that they've kind of made them canon, like they've been better. Like they're worth watching, and we can't not watch it. Like we've all boycotted the network at times, and we've all come back. Like it's just because I mean it's the goddamn WWE, and
Yeah.
and that's why they're going to be able to sell. That's why, in a weird way, all of this publicity from Vince McMahon has enabled them to probably get a better stock price to sell at this moment. The whole thing, business wise, as a guy that doesn't know a ton about business, when I look at it, it's fucking genius. I mean, everything about it seems like, yeah, if you're gonna do it and you're gonna sell, why wouldn't you do it right now? There is no such thing as bad publicity. And if Vince McMahon is selling the company and getting out, then and somebody else buys it, they can theoretically spin it in a way where now they can be the face company again, right? Like, look, the old twisted pervert's gone. We're doing it under our rules now. And that would eventually, of course, have to happen. Like if he were to actually sell.
Yeah, I mean the stock, looking at it right now, so it was
Up like another 5% today or something, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it was up. Jesus, that's a month. All right, 2.73% today, but up almost 20% in the past month, which is what I was gonna say. It was down at the end of December. So 28th of
basically,
December,
since he made the announcement, it
was
shot.
at 67.51.
Yeah, it's in the 80s or
Ticked
something.
on. When did they make the announcement? The 5th?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Or the 3rd. The 3rd.
Third. Yeah, that
I
was
think.
when the
Also
first
interesting-
story came out, and then the 5th we got the thing from Vince. I want to say the statement from Vince.
Very interesting too that Stephanie held that meeting with Nick Kahn and a couple of other people at Raw a couple of days before she retired, saying like management structure is not changing, things are like, and then does that. But so on the 3rd they were at 68.58. On the 4th they went up to 70. Then on the 5th 72, and now as of today they're at $90.24 a share.
Jeez,
so
they
jumping.
cracked 90. They haven't cracked 90 in a while, man. They haven't cracked 90 in a while. So they're boosting it up. They're also like they're in really good shape because I think part of this has to do with how well their ticket sales have gone for WrestleMania as well. Huge gate. They're breaking. I mean, it's a weird one because the last biggest gate they ever had, of course, was the WrestleMania in Dallas. So was that the year? I can't remember. Was that after us or before? We're at 33. It was. I want to say it was 32, Dallas. Whatever that one was. That one was the biggest.
32.
Yep. So 32. That one was the biggest gate of a pay-per-view they've ever done. But that was a one night. That was a one night WrestleMania, right? Like as far as ticket sales. And as far as
101,000.
Yeah.
163 disputed.
Right. So, but monetarily, those are the figures that you got to look at, right? Like what did they make at the gate? This one has broken that, but it's spread between 2 nights. So it is technically got the biggest gate, but it might not be the biggest earner because you're also renting the facility for 2 nights, like rather, or an extended night. So that's an interesting development. But with that strong of ticket sales, it makes sense that the sale would come around that as well. Like, look, we're a valuable entity, not just in our TV marketing rights and our merchandising, but look, we actually are selling live ticket sales. Look at the fucking gate we just got for this. That makes it more attractive to a potential buyer, one would assume.
100%. Yeah, that previous record, like you said, 2016 WrestleMania 32, their gate was 17.3 million. And so the company's declining to reveal the amount of the gate right now. But a source very close to the event said that it's topped 18 million.
So yeah, it's like from what Meltzer was saying, I think it's like 9 something each night.
Yeah.
So combined, it would be more than the one night WrestleMania of 32 or whatever. So yeah, that tracks. That makes perfect sense. So anyway,
well, and what a better way to also do it if you end up getting like The Rock to come back too.
Right.
Like,
well, that's the whole thing. It's in LA. It's got all the eyes on it. It's The Rock. It's and let's talk about it. Like, who is interested, do you think, in the product? Who do you think they're selling to? And do we want to just go through the list? I mean, I've got a few.
Let's go through the list.
So I'll say what I think is, I've got 2 that I think are the biggest contenders. And then the rest, I'm like, I can see it working, but not so much.
Yeah.
I think that based upon the relationship of USA, Universal, Comcast, that whole networking division, that Peacock, of course, with the network on it, them already doing business. A lot of people don't know this, but Comcast has some, I think, financial interest even in Hulu as well, because all their programming seems to go to Hulu. So there's got to be something there.
They do, yeah.
And they're just a big entity, big enough that I think that is my number one still. Comcast Universal purchasing the WWE. That is who I think it goes to. That's who I think it goes to as well. I mean, the other people you have, I think people are saying Fox. I mean, maybe a contender. I don't think Disney. I don't think, when I've seen in articles when people have said that Amazon's the Netflix. Well, let's slow down. Slow down. Let's go through each one, because there's certain positives and negatives, right? With each different entity buying it, and certain ways that I can look at it. Comcast Universal, I feel like if you're gonna do an eventual physical Hall of Fame / WWE shop experience type deal, what better place to do it than at like a Universal City Walk? There's also a new park that is going to be opening in the next few years in Orlando here, that will have a City Walk type experience. I can just see it fitting. I'm not saying that's build the goddamn ride themed around The Undertaker, right? That's not what I'm saying, but I still think you can have a WWE presence in a theme park that would be beneficial to, both entities. And I think that Universal's the better fit for that than, of course, Disney is. And I think that you've already got the show, on USA. You got Raw and, of course, NXT. I feel like you could probably, when the rights negotiations end with Fox, you could probably end up snatching that back to USA as well. You put SmackDown back on Fox or USA or one of its channels. It makes just better sense to me is like somebody embedded more in the TV market. And I'm not sure that WWE is ready to go completely to an Amazon, a Netflix, or a Disney because of like a Disney Plus where they could possibly air it. Is Disney kind of makes sense because you have the tie-in with ESPN.
That's what I was gonna say. The one thing
That's
you
the
have is
one
ESPN.
thing.
What you do have also though is you have this connection that I just saw in 2019. Disney and Comcast signed an agreement that guaranteed a sale of the 33% stake by 2024 for Hulu at a price of 27.5 billion. So by 2024, Comcast is supposed to get cut a check for like 33% of 27.5 billion
To buy a big portion of Hulu.
for a 33% stake in Hulu.
Interesting.
Which is I think the connection you were talking about earlier, because Comcast, like, they do that bundle. It's Hulu, Disney, ESPN, right? Isn't that the bundle? There's like a 3 bundle that you can do.
Yeah, it's the one that
those. If then Comcast has a 33% stake in Hulu, and so like, could you also stream live on that? Yeah, they have their live TV, but does it show up that next day? You don't have to wait, like all these things, for people on demand and things like that. It opens up a lot of avenues.
It definitely opens up a lot of avenues. I don't think that Disney Plus, apart from the ESPN side of things, really has what I don't know that they want WWE popping up on Disney Plus. I just don't think that it works with the Disney aesthetic. I don't think they want it. Like it still has a bit of a grimy factor to a lot of people.
It does. It's not in that
like
polished.
It's not. So I definitely rule that one out. Amazon, I mean, it's in a ton of homes at this point, Amazon Prime, and tons of people have it with the video component. They have the contract with the NFL. So it's not like completely outside of the realm of possibility. Plus, I could see the WWE network fitting in just fine on an Amazon Prime. I could see it obviously fitting in better than it would a Disney. The only thing with that one is that they don't have, you'd almost be sacrificing your TV rights deals, which is half of what the company makes. So they would have to, like, that one financially, I don't see how it benefits either side long term. Because I think that we've got a ton of people across the nation that are cutting cable and don't watch TV in traditional ways. But then there's still a ton of people that do. And I know that SmackDown and USA are very important. And the same with TBS and TNT for AEW. They're very important, not only in their business model, but also how they attract new fans. You're going to be more likely, if someone has cable, flipping through channels, to watch a couple minutes of it rather than start a program. Now, you might get into it in that few minutes that can be a new fan. You're not getting that with streaming. That's the one thing about streaming that sucks. It's that you are dedicating, like, on-demand programming, right? You're going to what you want to find. You are not now just flicking through the channels and stumbling on, whoa, look at this crazy move and this crazy guy or this crazy costume or whatever, and then you get into the storyline or whatever. It doesn't happen anymore. That's wrestling is gone from that. So you still have to have that infrastructure in place with like an Amazon type deal, and you don't. Now, a couple others. Endeavor. You heard about this one?
Yeah, I have heard about this one.
So they own the UFC.
Yep.
The model is kind of there because they bought the UFC, kept Dana White as sort of the figurehead.
Yeah.
Did it around his guidance and booking and development, and haven't faulted from that. And it's become a bigger product and a money earner for them. Putting something together that you could put a package together with a WWE and a UFC and have cross-brand promotion would, I think, be invaluable to both. They also have deals with pay-per-view providers. They they have some deals, I believe, with ESPN. I think UFC will
Maybe.
broadcast some things on. I feel like they have like you can get their pay-per-views through the ESPN Plus thing. I want to say so like they've got something there. But
Their value
again,
though is only like $11 billion.
I don't think they can afford it.
They can't afford it.
Yeah.
I mean, it would, because if it doesn't do well, that's everything's done, right? I think you need one of these bigger. I mean, it's a very interesting one indeed, because you would get a lot of those crossovers, and it would be interesting for the product on both sides, I think.
If the Rock did some sort of like deal with like he comes in, like they co-purchase it, he co-purchases it with somebody, I can see him doing it with like an Endeavor, right? They raise capital together to each get a share. And I mean, people have thrown around The Rock again, though. The Rock does not have the money to just straight up buy the WWE. He's a rich man. He's not that rich.
Yeah. Well, that you just brought up an interesting point. I mean, do you think there are companies like this going around trying to raise capital to do something like this right now? Or do you think it is one of these larger ones that's like, we can afford it? I mean, you look at what was it, an article I read about the guy who runs Comcast, and he was saying with what they have, dude, he was saying that like it's the highest bar they ever set for mergers and acquisitions right now. Like and that was like saying that like they're not acquiring a bunch of shit, like, and they have more money than fucking Fox. They have more money than
And that's the thing. Whoever buys it, because of how fast this is like seemingly happening, like I think it's happening before WrestleMania, man. I think it's happening soon. I think we're gonna know in weeks to come that a sale has gone through.
Changes the deal they have with Saudi Arabia? Do you think it does?
Well, I think it all has to be written into the thing, right? I think that all has to be negotiated, figured out, and dealt with, because that's what I'm saying. The deal has been done so quickly that it's someone with the money. And who's the people with the money? Comcast, Amazon, Disney, maybe not Endeavor, right? Maybe not The Rock, right? But the fucking Saudis. And that's the other possibility, is that literally the Saudis might be buying it.
Yeah.
I wonder, see, that this is where I'm actually, because I think Vince does know that if that happens, it's ruined. I think he's smart enough to know that they would.
I wonder what's Saudi Arabia's relationship with India, you know?
Probably not great.
I wouldn't think so, but
probably, I don't know.
But I'm just wondering, like, do they have say in other countries that they could expand it beyond the footprint of the
I don't know.
States?
That is a good question. I don't know the answer to that, but I feel like even Vince is smart enough to not let that happen. That, like, what if we find out years later that Nick Kahn was orchestrating the deal to sell it all to the Saudis, and Vince had to step back in and be like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, right.
What if we found out that, oh God, he did actually try and save something, like do some good in the very end? I feel like I'm giving him way too much credit, to be honest with you, but like, he's already done deals with the Saudis, right? Like he's clearly good with working with them. I just don't know that, like, there's no way that that's good for the product if it gets sold to the Saudis. There's no way. There's no way that's good.
I don't think so.
And
but I mean, they're you know, and what's interesting, this kind of goes back to something we were talking about earlier, but with Stephanie stepping down and Nick being, you know, just the sole CEO, wonder what was happening. Like, was Stephanie running the day-to-day while Nick was like working on selling this?
Probably.
Is that why there were co-CEOs? Because there was and I just pulled up this article though, but Conrad and Tony Schiavone were on a podcast talking about how Vince and Nick Khan had worked out a deal years ago And so the quote is, my friend was represented by the same company that Nick Kahn was sort of running. When my friend sees that the guy who runs this big agency is now going to WWE, he thought, what the fuck? This doesn't make any sense. So he called his contact and said, dude, what's up with Nick going, blah, blah, blah. He said, and this is years ago, yeah, he's got a deal with Vince where in his contract, he gets a big payday when he helps facilitate the sale. Conrad then added that Nick is in line to make more than All Elite Wrestling gets per year from Warner Brothers for television if the company is sold. He told me the number, quote, he told me the number, and I won't say the number because that's talking about somebody's money and that's not cool. But let's just say this. It's more than AEW's TV contract is for a year.
Wow. It's a lot of money. I mean, it's in the, what is their TV contract? I forgot what it is. I knew that once upon a time, but
yeah,
those are easy numbers to find out. But it's multis of millions, you know, it's in, I want to say it's in like the, I don't know, like $25 million range or something like that.
It's
I could be
175 million for 3 years, so about
so more than that, but not I think.
Yeah, I mean they're making like 45-55 million a year.
Yeah, so
television.
Think about that. He stands to make essentially more than that. Wow.
I mean, I'm sure way more than that.
And that's why he was brought in. That's why.
Well, and that's why I think we saw what we saw, which was that, you know, that co-CEO
thing, and now
I think
it's honestly the papers are. I think the papers were being drafted today of the sale of the company. Like that's what I honestly think. Like I don't think this is happening. Like the talks are already almost
let this
done.
Get out as a company.
No,
without.
Like this seems just like we're gonna know within a couple weeks, maybe even sooner, that this thing is sold.
Maybe by the end of January, right?
A Royal Rumble announcement.
Yeah.
I mean, why the hell not? I suppose. Like
whoever bought it should enter as number 30.
Number 30. Yeah. What? Okay, so here's
the fucking president of Comcast.
I've seen it thrown around. I don't think this will happen, and I would be mad if it did. But your thoughts if Tony Khan and the Khans just outright bought WWE?
like Vince would never let it happen.
I don't think he would. He would have to. Yeah, it would just not
over his dead fucking body.
But
you'd never let it out of spite. Yeah,
that baby. You said the Royal Rumble thing, and I just had the vision of Tony Khan running down and winning the Royal Rumble, and fucking, he's got the do-rag. He's got the Vince do-rag. Right, he's got the old ECW belt for some reason. Doesn't even need it. He just has it because he owns it now, and he's just so excited. And he's like,
it's like when Shane was down at WCW Bash at the Beach.
Yeah. I think he comes into, he does a line of coke off the apron, says, "I run this industry and fucking
run this shit.
I run this shit."
and look at this.
I just won the fucking Royal Rumble. I mean, it would be awful though. It all kidding aside, like
it would,
because here we go. We were back to one owner, a monopoly of the goddamn business again. Like
we want alternatives.
And I've seen AEW fans online say, like, advocating for this. I'm like, you are idiots. Like, you're missing the point. Like, the whole alternative thing, like, it needs to happen. Like,
that'd be a thing. Yeah.
The only way it would work is if Tony Khan, like, literally, like, bought the company and, like, handed the other half to Cody and said, "Cody, here's all the shares. You own half, you know, like, and you know, like, you get this, and then I do this, and then, you know," but it would have to be something like that, where it's like, I don't know. Who would you give it to? Would you give it to Cody?
I kind of think he'd keep Trips around.
Yeah. He'd just reinstate Trips and just be like, he'd make Trips wrestle too. He would like do the spit
like,
thing.
I am the master collector of real wrestlers. I have them all.
Do the spit thing. Do the spit thing.
Do it now. Do it in my face.
Oh yeah.
Wait, let me get a bump. Now do it in my face.
Do it again. Trish Stratus is back for, reasons.
For reasons.
For reasons. Yeah, I mean, just
Um,
he has resurrected the Big Boss Man. Ray Traylor has come back from the dead. The Repo Man is back for sure.
Yeah, he's making Taker come back too.
Yeah. Yeah. He's. I can see him booking, like, just being so excited and booking, like, the worst wrestling company ever. Like, of
it just
all,
destroys pro wrestling as a whole.
Because
it's gone.
It's gone now. Like, it's like, fuck.
Never any pro wrestling ever again.
Because it's just Tony Khan out there every day explaining why all his ideas are good. And then you get, like, he's done with, like, a nice 13 to 16 minute long match, right? Like every match is a fucking Broadway. Like it's fucking like, it's like there are no more short matches apart from Jade Cargill, who squashes all the male roster every week. Like that still happens, but those are even shorter, right? She's gotten worse. Now she's just like, it's a minute long match, but the other matches are basically just like the Young Bucks versus every tag team ever for like 3 hours long because he's got extra time.
Eventually,
for
there are
Dynamite.
like no fans coming to the arena. Yeah. So sick of it. And it's just Tony sitting there going, "This is awesome."
And then he tweets like he goes and tweets
he's like,
and
front
he's like,
row at WAEW Dynamite.
Young Bucks versus Trent Beretta and in a handicap match with justly deserved. This is awesome chance. Crowd attendance 1.
People wishing they were here. Everyone.
He doesn't let
through
people.
The roof.
He's gotten to the point where everybody's criticized his opinions for so long on it, and he's just like, I don't even let people in the building anymore.
I travel around and watch the show myself.
Yeah. I mean, I'm selling out buildings to myself. Like that's. He's like, he's got Kenny booked and like, really, Tony? Like, I got to do this again. Like, yes.
Like, yeah, you got to do it again.
Yes, you do.
Like, also, also fucking, he's like, I'm going to wrestle CM Punk in a fucking dog collar match.
Well, you remember the Invisible Man match that Kenny had, right? Like,
yes.
Okay, so what if Tony, he starts booking him on handicapped Invisible Man matches where he's gonna take on 3 invisible men
in a whole arena.
Like Kenny has to throw himself off of all the balconies.
It's like a triple Iron Man match, so it's 3 hours.
What if, like, you know how Vince McMahon, obviously he's a sexual pervert, so he would get off on making, like, his power complex would him be making, like, obviously putting women in very precarious situations has been discussed by the news media and us even tonight. But what if Tony Khan's kink is seeing jobbers like just do Invisible Man wrestling matches like all across like hardcore Invisible Man like matches where that's his kink. That's what he gets up on.
That's what he loves.
Yeah, and only he can watch it, and so he'll never, like, it all goes on the Ring of Honor Club, right? But only he has a special access that only he can see it. Like, he won't let it out.
Subscription, tier level.
Yeah. But like only he has it. But it's like they're all filmed. They're all like perfect production. But
no, they're not perfect production. It's him with a camcorder, like running around. He's like, do it again. Do it again. Like, do it again or you don't get your money.
He doesn't whip his dick out, but he touches like the outside of his pants a lot, Like he just slowly rubs it a little bit. He's like, yes. That was, I don't know why we got into that. That's
we went down a road. Did we cover everyone that we think could do it right now?
Yeah.
I mean, you think
again, Netflix, same deal, maybe has the money, but I don't think it's a good enough investment for them with, and they don't have the TV presence. I still think that's a big part of it. Having those, and again, that was mentioned in Vince's statement, was not only the sale of the company, but the negotiation of the rights fees, which are coming up with both Fox and SmackDown. We didn't talk about Fox, and we should.
Yeah.
Because they are this one's dangerous. We all know about Fox News, and
Yep.
no matter what your political take is, we won't get political here, but no one can disagree that Fox News leans to the right politically, right? They will admit that. Like, that's part of what they do. So even just being on Fox, such a massive presence, you could air, another show on an FS1, right? You've got the Fox Sports Network. You do have that ability. They have the presence to be able to do it as a network. But I just fear if it went to Fox, they would find some way. And I do believe, of course, that, Vince McMahon, previous friends with Donald Trump, probably leans a little right. I'm just going to go ahead and guess by the way maybe Linda McMahon was, also employed by, Donald Trump.
Yeah, at the very least, he's a fiscal conservative.
So, yes, I would just be scared that the Murdochs and the Fox Murdoch kind of family would have an influence into wrestling, which has definitely presented itself before. I just feel like it could wrestling is such an interesting tool that you could use as propaganda. And I think that it could be very powerful propaganda if put in the wrong hands.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
and I wouldn't want that. Like, I'm obviously a little more left leaning, but I wouldn't want that on the other side either. Like, I don't
want it far left or far right.
But Fox is so notoriously guilty of kind of feeding things in with that.
You get Tucker Carlson on
dude,
the fucking,
you would
he would be on the announcers team, and then he'd get in the ring somehow.
Yeah. Something like that would happen. Like that would. I mean, I'm just. That's definitely not something I'm into. Let's do just a couple last minute talking points here that we forgot to mention earlier in the show. Apparently New Japan Strong is done, and they are not, like, I guess they've not said that they're not going to be doing more. I think New Japan is readjusting their North American strategy. New Japan Strong has had its last taping. So that was coming from, I think it was Tanahashi said it. Like, it was a big name. It that it went out that said it. And it seems like, again, they're redeveloping what that is. But could this be the Union for Honor Club? New Japan Strong, Ring of Honor Club. Throw the two of them together. I think that works.
That does work for both of them. Yeah. I'd be okay with that.
I think so
New Japan didn't get the traction.
It didn't, and I think this is a nice way for both of them to kind of like to work together. Maybe there's a partnership with New Japan World even, but this could be a nice way to introduce people again through the forbidden door. So it's not like, for some American audiences that don't watch any of New Japan's product, it's less startling when, okay, who's this guy that just showed up in AEW, right? I don't really know this guy, but I'm being told he's a really big deal and something. Well, now you can maybe filter some of those people sort of through that, like, Ring of Honor, New Japan Strong system. They can work together. They can exchange talent. They can, like, it's a great way to get people experienced, in different styles of wrestling. If you're Tony Khan and only have people from the Nightmare Factory, or you're developmental on Dark, you can send people over to work with some New Japan Strong people and kind of like diversify them without having to send them all the way to Japan, especially if they're taping in LA and whatnot. Right. So you can expose on both levels. You can expose Japanese talent to American audiences. You can expose up and coming American like talent that need some improvement with a Japanese wrestler that can show them a different style and vice versa, of course.
Yeah.
But I think that would be a nice synergy. I could see that between like all like the way like kind of again that developmental Ring of Honor, New Japan, so like New Japan strong, Ring of Honor, do it, Tony Khan.
Yeah, do it.
And buy Impact, I guess, and put that on there. I don't know.
Shooting your jobber invisible man matches.
We know, Tony. We know. But I still think it's a hard sell at $10 a month, right?
It's a very hard sell in this economy.
It would have to have a guaranteed number of pay-per-views. But if you gave me New Japan content with it for $10, like I don't know, you could do 12 or something and give me New Japan content. Think that would work? But honestly, it needs more. Like it needs to have, well, it's missing one piece for the American audience, and the New Japan, like world subscription service is terrible to watch through. Like it looks when you get to the video you want to watch, it looks great, but the site, the user interface is terrible.
They shouldn't keep when you click English, they shouldn't keep all the Japanese.
No, that needs to
super fucking confusing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
But like, also, you're giving me the option to click English translation. So like,
just do the whole page in English.
Don't know what the fuck any of that means.
No, yeah. Zero knowledge of what any of that means. And so if they were though, I think they are in desperate need because it's been like that for years and years. That New Japan World whole site is terrible. It's been like that forever. They're in need of partnership if they're gonna break an American audience and get people watching their pay-per-views. We're an anomaly that we can even navigate it enough to be able to get it right. There are people that like take one look at that and they're like, "Fuck no!" Like I'm not playing with that. It's not worth it to me. Like I'll find it elsewhere. Someone will upload it or send it to me. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Like people give up on that, and so it would be helpful for them if they just literally partnered with Tony Khan in an American market that you can get through a streaming service, a Honor Club streaming service, access to New Japan World in a nicely laid out format.
Yeah.
That's going to cost a lot of money to be able to do. It's a huge investment. Like that programming is deep, but it can be done. And I think it would be something that at a $10 price point with pay-per-views, of course, that rivals the WWE network. And that's without AEW content on there. Like I think you can do it without that now they will need to do that eventually anyway.
Yeah.
So I see the future. Like that's probably something that Tony Khan's holding off on because that's going to be a part of the next bit of negotiation rights. I think he wants to have someone in the Warner family where they're at. It could be an HBO, right? It could be a number of things, but it needs to end up with AEW on a streaming network where we can get pay-per-views through it. Like, fight's okay, but it'd be nicer if we just had like a back catalog. Give us our version of literally like Peacock that you're thrown on, and we can buy pay-per-view, and we can see pay-per-views or buy pay-per-views through it. I don't mind paying an upcharge on the pay-per-view if I have like a subscription to something, but you've got to do that. You can't.
Well, and to get to a broader audience, to your point, you have to, and to save all the money of building a system that does that,
you have to hop on another network.
You license the rights to a company that already has that infrastructure and that system, and then you do what you're saying. If it's not because you're a subscriber, you might get the whole catalog and everything, and maybe day after or 2 days after, a Dynamite or something like that. But then, maybe it's $9.99 or $14.99 for a pay-per-view or something like that.
Make it more accessible. Even $20 is fine, right?
Yeah, $19.99.
But don't if I'm already supporting the company, if I'm paying into something, like make it easy and make it like a $20, pay-per-view. Don't we're done. Come on. Do we really need to be spending $50 on pay-per-views? Like you're asking a lot, assholes. Like it's
come on.
WWE kind of ruined that for people, you know,
Yeah.
but
Which was crazy. Like even
the game
even now,
changed and we can't go back. You don't put that fucking genie back in the bottle. Like that's done. Like we don't, as wrestling fans, we'll spend a little bit, but
I wonder how many they still sell, because they still sell pay-per-view
oh, they do.
for
Yeah.
all WWE and
Yeah.
all AEW, and they're like $59 or $54.99 or something like that.
I want to meet that person. I feel like it's a literally an old black
Old
granny. No, old
Who
black
doesn't
granny
know that
doesn't
internet-
know that the WWE, Peacock exists, doesn't care, doesn't know how to use it. She's been ordering the pay-per-view. She saves up for it. She's been doing it for like years and years and years. She knows how to do it. Even with the new fangled Spectrum box, she's able to,
Yeah,
she's able to
Comcast
do
is like,
it.
yeah, I mean, we provide internet to you through Xfinity, and guess what? You get Peacock.
Yeah, and she's like,
as
no,
part of that.
but
And
she's
she's
still
like,
what?
What?
Yeah, no,
No.
she orders it like, I need it on my box. That's
I
what
need
she
it on my
says.
box.
I need it
Yeah.
on my box, and you put it on my box.
And I'm gonna tape it on this VHS tape.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna write on it in marker.
Yep.
Fucking Boner Jams 23. Fucking that's what Tony Khan he names all his.
That's good. That's good. Oh man, what do you I feel like they're gonna do a thing with Charlotte breaking Flair's record, right?
Yeah,
That's like the new direction I think they're
that's
going.
the new direction. Yeah.
Yeah.
She won that title pretty quick.
And especially with this face turn and everything, like it's all, yeah, that's what they're doing. Last little thing I wanted to bring up, I don't give a shit about Bronson Reed. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I don't give a like when he showed up that first time.
I don't think I'm the only one.
I don't think anyone
I don't
really
think
kind of knew what was happening.
Like,
I
I mean, I know who he is. I know you, Jonah, but
yeah,
you did not do enough to impress. New Zealand again. They just don't do it.
they just don't do it. They don't have the edge.
They don't
Yeah,
got the
they
gumption.
try.
They don't got the gumption.
They ain't got the gumption.
No,
Yeah.
it's more they don't got. I don't think they got the charisma, man.
Yeah,
I think they might have the gumption.
they might. Yeah,
Might not
that's
have the
true.
charisma.
Yeah, the charisma, but maybe we just don't get the charisma style because we're
Maybe
not Kiwis.
Maybe not. They're a weird bunch. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I don't know. Put him. Yeah, he's with the Miz or something. He's getting paid by the Miz.
Who cares? Didn't we
this
just
is
do
it.
this?
Like
Didn't we just do this with Dexter Loomis with the Miz and paying him?
This is also like a thing that needs to very quickly. We need to address and say, a lot has improved under Triple H's tutelage, but there's a lot that's really just kind of remained exactly the same and shitty.
Or there's some
Or
stuff that
been
fell
worse.
flat.
Yeah, like not everything's been great.
Damage
Gargano,
control
man,
sucks.
Gargano.
Injured.
Yeah. I mean, I think he'll.
I mean, hoping he can be back for the Rumble
He
is what they're
will.
saying. I don't know.
But still,
But-
before the injury, it's not like, all right, we've made him into a comedy act. Okay. Who else?
You know who my favorite comedy act is right now?
Who you liking? Who you digging?
Prison Dom.
Oh, Dom's killing it though. Dom, yeah.
Prison Dom.
Prison Dom's great. I can't believe
That bandana, man.
I can't believe they figured it out with him and he figured it out, and all of it is just like with the presentation with Rhea. It's well done, Dom. Well done. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like
I'm telling you, man, he's my favorite fucking. I know I'm
He's
probably not
the
supposed
most-
to be laughing at
No.
it, but I'm laughing at it, and I fucking love it. I
He's-
actually do enjoy. Like it's
the best
and I like
part of
watching Damian Priest around him, like
Oh, the
speaking
whole
for
group.
him. Like it's the whole thing is working for me now.
Yeah, like Balor's more interesting. All of them are more interesting because of it. And Damian's like behind him. He's just like, yeah, tell him. Like he's
Yeah,
like
you
fucking
tell him, yeah.
angry, and he's just
I
like,
love it.
but it has a self-awareness about it that I think that connects with maybe our age group
Yeah.
or something like that. Like, but it's good. Like everything about it is it's got a tongue-in-cheekness. But it's entertaining because the people surrounding him are all fucking badasses. And he's even improved in the ring.
He has improved, yeah.
He's not great, but it's
Not great, but he's definitely improved. Yeah.
He's got an acceptable frog splash and a couple.
Yeah, he's done a couple of
moves.
cool moves. He's got a couple of things in his set.
He does.
I think he just needs to work out a little more.
He's getting there though. He's looking better. And yeah, I don't know. I think that the more and more he's doing it too, it's just the more he's studied Eddie, and he's clearly with everything becoming mini Eddie. And that's the way it needs to go, because you get the by the time that WrestleMania comes around, the match that Ray said he never wanted to have will happen.
Yeah.
And it will be Dom and Ray at WrestleMania, and Dom will essentially be Eddie.
Yeah, he'll probably wear ring gear that's all very Eddie inspired.
And you got to think that's probably a Rey Mysterio retirement match, right? So
yeah,
I can see them booking that. That's and the trajectory, and like people are responding to it as well. Like the whole of Judgment Day, the whole of the Dom thing, everyone is. So strike on that while it's hot. Why not? That's something that 100% that Triple H has done right, was the Judgment Day.
Yeah.
Things he did
he
wrong.
Turned that around.
Hit row. We got things he did.
Damage control.
Things he's done right. LA Knight. Not necessarily Bray, but LA Knight. Things he's done wrong. Braun Strowman.
Yeah.
Things he's done wrong. Arguably Bray Wyatt.
Yeah. Arguably.
Yeah.
Bring back.
We'll see. I mean, I guess that's confirmed now, right? Like, we'll wrap
somewhat
up here
confirmed.
soon, but yeah, somewhat confirmed. Like, tons of reports of Bo Dallas being backstage at
Raw.
this
and
this
then
Raw.
obviously Uncle Howdy being
The
there and coming out
comparisons,
with Alexa,
and the comparisons facially, and the comparisons with the beard.
Yeah, everyone's
and everything.
been saying it. We've been saying it for a while. This is kind of confirms a little bit more what everyone's been saying.
Confirms what we know.
Also, does that just mean that they're like getting lazy with it?
I hope there's more. I hope there's something to all of this. It's gonna be weird if he never takes off the mask.
It's gonna be very weird.
It's I don't know how they really play that one out if they continue it down that trajectory. And again, I don't care about the Alexa stuff.
Me neither.
I don't care.
And I know she needs something, but this going back to this isn't it.
Yeah, and it's almost exactly the same. Like, it doesn't feel any different. It's in a lot of ways, I think it's for perverts. Like, it's a weird, kid, like swinging on a swing set, Alexa Bliss, like bow to the master type of gimmick. It's weird. Like, I hope they just tell us some new form of story, like. But I don't think I don't have high hopes, man. I really don't. If anything, Bray needs to conquer all these demons and they go away, and Bray is no longer supernatural and he's just kind of a tough guy, Bray in a black fucking coat. Like,
been through a lot.
That's been through a lot, that has like can twist and turn on you, but it's no longer supernatural. He's got the cool dark braids, wear what he's been wearing. Like, I think that would honestly work better than any of this supernatural shit right now. I think you almost make him a bit of like a brute, sympathetic character, like Eddie Kingston became in AEW. I think you can almost mirror some of what you've done, just being real, because he can do that in promos. He's just shown that he can do that in promos. He doesn't need to hide behind the gimmick. He needs to be, he needs to maybe have a little manic laugh every once in a while, but
he needs to stop
be
doing
real.
Fucking promos is what he needs to stop
just be
doing.
fucking real.
And what he needs, and if they're gonna try and make something that could be interesting, is he conquers all of those demons and such, but then he like kind of goes almost like silent, right? Like he can talk and he will sometimes, but he's very
I like
subdued.
that. That's cool.
And he like keeps by himself. Like I'm picturing him in that rocking chair on a porch next to a swamp, just like by himself, just thinking. And like he'll do these things, but like when something happens, there's that, like you said, that little menacing, like that burst of violence that comes out, and that's it, because he's still learning to like work through it, right? Because he's conquered those demons, but now he needs to get over that trauma of it, right?
I mean, that's a better story than what they're telling right now. Both of what we just came up with in 2 goddamn seconds is more interesting to me, and I would want to see him do stuff like that. I would want that. I think the supernatural shit is just, it's played out. I can't do teleportation anymore. I mean, Malachi Black and all the House of Black shit annoys me too. Like
Yeah.
You can have a surprise pop up from out of nowhere. That's fine.
Can't do it all the time, every time.
The lights can go out and someone can be in the ring. That's fine. But don't like pretend they teleported.
Yeah.
Don't like, oh, yeah, that's stupid.
How'd they get here? Oh.
Right. No, you have a dimly lit ring where you can see a figure slide into the ring in a robe and pull a robe off, and when the lights come up, he's there. And you can see him when he dips out when the lights go out, and like, oh, he disappears into the crowd, but a vague figure or what have you. Do that.
Yeah.
It's not teleportation, but it's somebody coming in, attacking someone from out of nowhere. Very much more, a lot more sense to me. Whoo! God damn.
Covered a lot.
Covered a lot. Bray Wyatt, though, get your shit together. I don't know, man. Like, is this something that Vince saw on TV too and was just like, I gotta go back. I can't be dealing with this. I just can't go with this.
Thought I was done with this.
Yeah. I wonder who it was. It was either Bronson Reed, Bray Wyatt,
or Braun Strowman.
Yeah. No, he loves Braun. He's like, put him on there more. Like he needs, give him a push. Who we got? Probably he made Gargano get injured, so that he's definitely orchestrated that.
Yeah, he's not for Dexter Loomis. He doesn't think he has it.
No, he doesn't. But he has a weird looking guy.
Yeah, he's not for Dakota Kai.
No,
he doesn't like.
Finds them boring.
What's her name? Io.
He got mad that Sasha or Mercedes hopped up in New Japan, was really pissed, had to come back. Like that, that destroyed him. So he definitely had that, you know.
Cody, you've been taking them stem cells. You've been cracking the, drinking the what's the Illuminati drink?
Oh, I know what it was. Dude. I know what the last straw for Vince McMahon, and he had to come back and change things around was. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you. I know it. I just figured it out.
Dewdrop's no longer on TV.
John Cena's bald spot.
God damn it. Fucking Cena. I told him he shouldn't grow out his goddamn hair for the movies. It looks stupid first off, and God, now we see it. Bald.
We
He
could
was
have
always
goddamn
bald.
toupee
That's
on
why
that. Made it look good. It'd been fucking fine.
Keep it short, damn it.
Yeah.
And he saw it, and he was like, he's basically gonna come back. He's gonna take Cena's spot. But it's gotta be something.
I'll show you some hustle, loyalty, respect, kid.
Yeah.
You see this? 77 years old, better head of hair than you, brother.
Oh man.
Oh, that being said, is it time that we wrap things up for the evening? I think it probably is. I think we've done enough. I think we've done enough damage for this week. Who knows what next week will bring, because I'm sure there will be something by the time we get off of here, or even just within the week, that we will be forced to talk very long and drawn out about wrestling for you next week. Hopefully on the same day, same bad channel over at twitch.tv/ONRS live. Looking like a Tuesday show. Matthew, you good with that? Tuesday show, probably?
I think I'm good with that.
Word, dog. Word. A lot we got. I mean, we got through a lot tonight. We did. And a ton more that we probably could have got into, but I think we covered the important stuff.
We covered quite a bit.
I think we did. Again, we'll see you next week. We're always taking voicemails, by the way. If you ever want to leave a voicemail, forget to mention this. It's over at 407-906-6466. Leave us one of them. You know, it's a good time. You can leave us a voicemail, and we can play it on air if you want. We can just answer questions. Don't forget about our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Ono Wrestling. Tons of stuff going on in there. And if you were lucky enough to live in the Orlando area, one of our awesome members, Heather, she was like, if you were in that group, she was offering up opportunities to be a free extra, essentially, at an upcoming taping of Raw. So those are some of the perks that you can get, man. We've got industry people or people that know people in the industry all up in that group, and you get to go and basically go for free, and they give you a seat, and you pop up there and you cheer, and you just do what they tell you to do, and you get a free wrestling show. So
yeah,
every once in a while you might even see something like that. Thank you, Heather, for posting that in our group. We love you, and Matthew, what do we say when we rock and roll out of here? Woo!